All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? Back here for the Sunday Night Football breakdown between the Chargers and Kansas City. Game is in Kansas City here. 42.5 is the total as it sits right now. Kansas City 4-point favorites at home. 8-4 Chargers coming to town to face the 11-1 Chiefs here. And hopefully not the refs here tonight, but we'll see how that shakes out. If you guys could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton here. One-man booth. Ham is taking care of some stuff, so I'm jumping on here, taking care of the slate here myself with a nice quick hit here tonight. Going to talk through the captains, talk through kind of each position in the flex, and then keep it nice and short and sweet here for everyone out there to get some winners hopefully here tonight in those showdown streets. Hopefully the main slate is going good by the time you watch this video, and all those SHIPIT Nation logos are up at the top of the leaderboard. But without further ado, let's jump in. Let's talk tonight's game here, and it's a pretty interesting one here. We're going to start with the captain position, and looking at the captain, Mahomes is 16-2. Feels a little soft on this kind of on the slate as it sits right now. Herbert at 14-7. Those are the two highest priced captains. And then you got Ladd McConkey, who is coming into this game questionable. Going to have to wait and see with actives and leading up to the game. Latest report I looked at is he is truly questionable here. He's 14-1. Obviously, if he doesn't go, that's going to make guys like Quentin Johnston a great play, and then we're going to have a ton of value coming from the Charger side in terms of wide receivers with guys like Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer, and then the third and fourth guys as well on that team, guys like Jalen Reagor, Darius Davis, things like that, DJ Chark. But we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Right now, I think Ladd McConkey probably try and sticks it out and plays. This is a big game for obviously the Chargers here coming into Kansas City on prime time. So we'll have to monitor that. He's 14-1. Then you got Kelsey, D-Hop, Pacheco, Gus Bus, and Worley are kind of the rest of the guys that rounded out there. I'm going to start with my favorite captain overall. It's going to be Justin Herbert here. He's shown a ton of rushing upside lately. Quarterbacks have kind of thrashed this Chiefs team the last couple of games. Looking at the numbers, I mean, Josh Allen went for 25 against this squad. Aiden O'Connell went for 25 against this squad. Bryce Young, in his first game back, went for 17, looked really good. Almost beat these Chiefs here in kind of a gross game. Overall, I really love Herbert. Looking at the last couple of games, I mean, he's taken some rushing attempts. I mean, last game he had 5 carries, 4 carries, 5 carries, 9 carries. So, I mean, if he gets you 5 carries for 15, 20 yards, maybe steals one of those goal line touchdowns, I think he has a high likelihood to outscore Mahomes, who just hasn't really shown a ceiling this year outside of the one game really against Carolina, who pretty much everyone has ceiling games against, right? Outside of that, it's been pretty much right around that 20 fantasy point mark outside of the two occurrences. Tampa Bay, who is a huge pass funnel, right? One of the worst pass defenses in the league. And then against Carolina, who is just awful against quarterbacks as well. That's not the case here. Chargers are very good against quarterbacks. They held Lamar Jackson to 23, which is, for his standards, isn't crazy. The only quarterback that really lit this team up was Joe Burrow. But that game was kind of super back and forth, really crazy, 34-27 game, right? So kind of back and forth. I don't see that game kind of going that way. I kind of see this game playing a little bit slower and kind of grosser. Kansas City is at home. They're very, very likely just to rely on the run game, win these close, gross, grinded out type games, and that just doesn't do very well for a guy like Mahomes, who I do expect to be kind of the most popular captain up top here tonight. So for me, Justin Herbert's going to be my favorite captain. If Ladd McConkey plays, he's going to be my second favorite captain. I really want to kind of attack these Chargers pass catchers and these Chargers plays in the captain spot here. So I'm going Herbert. I'm going Ladd McConkey. And then I'd probably jump over to Pacheco or Kareem Hunt here. Just looking at it here, I just think they're good leverage here. Just looking at the split last week, Pacheco had 7 carries, 1 reception on 1 target. Kareem Hunt also had 7 carries, 4 targets for 2 catches in that very, very gross game against the Raiders, 19-17. It's tough to kind of really get to either of these guys too heavily just because they are in a split. Now, if you think this game is going to be playing from behind, right, and the Chiefs are more likely to play from behind, I think it's going to be Kareem Hunt for sure. Pacheco does have another game back under his belt for sure. So you could see that kind of increase that line share as kind of the first and second down guy. Lean more towards Pacheco here. You don't know, right? Andy Reid could do multiple, a magnitude of different things here. Obviously preparing for the playoffs here. Pacheco is going to be a huge part of the playoffs, so they could just kind of roll Kareem Hunt right now. But I would say if you take a stand on one of them, I prefer Kareem Hunt just at the price point at 9,600 here. However, I think the field is also going to prefer Kareem Hunt at his price point versus Pacheco's elevated price point. I mean, $2,400 more than Kareem Hunt in the captain position, I think is a big take there. But realistically, my 2 favorite captains for sure are Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey. I do think you get decent kind of flop leg spot, if you will, on a guy like Travis Kelce here. Because, I mean, looking back at the Chiefs' last showdown, Travis Kelce was one of the most popular captain plays, one of the most popular plays on the slate. And then obviously Brock Powers on the other end kind of ate his lunch. But Kelce still had 13 targets in that game for 7 catches. I mean, he is just a PPR monster right now in his current role in this offense, obviously with no Rashee Rice out there. So Travis Kelce would be my favorite overall Chiefs captain, I think. But if you're looking to leverage, I think going to the Pachecos or the Kareem Hunts of the world, just due to the uncertainty there, I think you're going to get an ownership discount there. And I think that's a decent spot to target here. And then Herbert and McConkey. I have pretty much no interest in Mahomes captain here. Anytime Mahomes is on the slate, he's the most popular guy for sure, for good measure. However, in the flex, I will definitely have a ton of Mahomes. I might even lock Mahomes in the flex, but I will have 0 Mahomes in the captain here. That's just a spot I'm taking. I'd rather flip that to Justin Herbert here, who I think comes in lower owned and I think has a pretty high likelihood to outscore Mahomes here at a fractional ownership in the captain spot. So that's kind of the captain plays there for me. Jumping over the flex plays, kind of more of the same. Start with the quarterback position. Love both quarterbacks here. Love Herbert. I actually prefer Herbert over Mahomes, but I'm going to be heavier on Herbert in the captain position. So in the flex, naturally going to have a ton of Mahomes as well. I think 2 quarterback builds are good here. I just think this is a good matchup for Herbert for sure. Just looking back kind of at last year's matchup between these two in week 4 early in the season, obviously different teams, different kind of different everything. It was kind of a gross 17-10 type game, but in a game like that, you need raw points, right? And very, very high likelihood both these quarterbacks are heavily involved in a raw points type slate, right? Because they touch the ball every play. So I like both the quarterbacks a ton. Real no hot takes there. Jumping over to the running back position, like I said, on the Carolina or the Kansas City side, you have pretty much a 50-50 split right now, at least looking at last week, right? They split the carries down the middle at 7 apiece, and Kareem Hunt had kind of 4 times more targets in the air, right? 4 targets through the air, caught 2 of them, whereas Pacheco only had the 1 dump off there. On the Charger side, you got Vidal and Gus Edwards. Vidal is kind of your pass-catching guy out there. I kind of like him a little bit in this game. Just looking at the price points, Gus Edwards up to 7,400 here. If you want to play a script where you think the Chargers are going to play from ahead or are going to win this game, I think Gus Bus plays into that script a lot more. Obviously, there can always be the pass interference on the 1. Down at the 1, Gus Bus comes in and punches in 2 or 3 run-yard touchdowns. So you're always kind of fading that with Gus Edwards here. He's not going to be super explosive. I don't think he's going to bust out any very long runs or anything at this point of his career there. So looking at Vidal at 2,800 here, I think is an interesting play. Looking at last week, he got 4 carries for 20 yards last week. Looked pretty good against Atlanta. Didn't get any work in the passing game there, but I think that kind of changes here. The Chargers kind of destroyed Atlanta last week. For the most part there. Atlanta scored a late touchdown there, kind of bring the game back close. But overall, that game was kind of a dud, kind of gross in general. And looking at the snap share percentages last week, Gus Edwards only got 52% of the snaps, whereas Vidal had 26%. So basically over half of what Edwards did, right at half of what Edwards did. So I think he's an interesting play here in tournaments, and for whatever reason, Hassan Haskins always, I don't know what it is, this guy here, but some reason he always gets in on the goal line. I can't play any Haskins at 2K. I just can't do it. If I'm playing in that range, I'd much rather just go to Vidal, the rookie there, who outsnapped him last week. Basically, was kind of 50% of the snaps for the half as many snaps as Edwards. In general, but overall, the running backs position from the Charger side is pretty gross. The Chargers pass a ton. We know they pass a ton. They want to pass the ball. They're at about a 60, almost a 70-30 split right now on run pass. Looking at the Chiefs, you want to really pass on them. They're really good against the run for the most part. Where they're not so great is against the pass. So that's kind of where I want to attack. So overall, in general, lower on the Chargers running backs, Vidal would be probably my favorite just due to the more pass catching guy. So I like him. And then looking at the Chiefs side here, like I said, they're basically splitting snaps down the middle, splitting carries, splitting everything. It's hard to kind of get to either one of them a heavy amount unless you kind of just take a stand and go heavy on one and fade the other and just hope you pick right. But Pacheco at 8K and Kareem Hunt at 6,400. I expect Kareem Hunt to be more popular for sure due to the discount. So in tournaments, I think there's an edge to play Pacheco because I do think he is the lead back. They are favored. They're at home. And I think he gets first crack. So Pacheco would be my preferred option over Kareem Hunt there. But again, game script dependent. Kareem Hunt, if you're playing a Chargers win script or kind of a Chargers or scoring point script, probably a high likelihood that Kareem Hunt has a decent game because he is going to be involved in that pass game work for sure. Jumping to the wide receiver position, obviously we got to keep an eye on Ladd McConkey. If he plays, I absolutely love him here. He's just a straight beast. Herbert looks to him literally every single play. Absolutely love him. If he's not in there, we're going to have to wait and see. But it's going to bring guys like Darius Davis into play for sure. Obviously, Quentin Johnston would be, quote-unquote, the number one, right? You still got Will Dissly there. Jalen Reagor would come into play at 1,600. Darius Davis at 1,200. Darius Davis is still going to be out there no matter what because he does return kicks. So if you want a little sneaky kind of unowned correlation that could pop off sometimes in showdowns, the little Davis Chargers defense correlation there. Don't hate that. But from the wide receiver standpoint, it's really Ladd McConkey, number one, far and away from me on the Chargers side. I think going back to the well with a guy like Quentin Johnston, because we just saw last showdown slate, right? Last primetime slate, Quentin Johnston on there couldn't catch a ball. He literally had Crisco on his hands, stone butter hands out there. He's 5,800 there. He's $400 more than Joshua Palmer here. I like that price point a ton. I like the home run playability of Quentin Johnston. Herbert's going to give him looks, and if he gives him a look early in the game and he cashes in, he could be in for a big day. Now, obviously, if he doesn't cash in, it's going to be a little hurtful, and Herbert's likely going to go a lot more to guys like Ladd McConkey, right? Joshua Palmer is kind of another possession guy, and then Will Dissly. So I like Quentin Johnston. I like the home run play upside and ability here, so I like him. Josh Palmer's fine as well. Not going to get to really Darius Davis, Jalen Reagor, any of these secondary or third and fourth options too often if McConkey's in there. On the Chiefs side, it's tough. The Chiefs have so many guys. I mean, Justin Watson is still a thing. Juju Smith-Schuster is still a thing. D-Hop and Xavier Worthy are obviously the two best plays there. I will say one of these games, Xavier Worthy is going to catch probably 2 bombs over the top. Mahomes has definitely looked his way. They just have not connected. So going back to the captain position, I have a little interest in a guy like Xavier Worthy at 10-5 because if he catches one of those, he's going to break the slate, especially in a game where I think if it's like a 17-14 type game, which I can definitely see here tonight, you're going to need him at that price point there. So I have a little interest in some Worthy captain. The reason being is I've just watched these guys. Mahomes has taken shots at him and just hasn't connected. Once that connects, it's going to be kind of game over. And if he does that twice, he's definitely optimal captain. So I have some interest in Xavier Worthy just for the home run playability. He's getting some they'll give him some end around stuff and like carries and screens and things like that. And he can take it to the house anytime. So definitely like some Xavier Worthy for sure at 7K. D-Hop at 8,400. He's kind of the pivot off of Kelsey there. I really don't like playing those two together too often. You can definitely do it, but I kind of look at them as similar type guys. Worthy to me is kind of their home run play down the outside. D-Hop's kind of their possession-ish guy, right? Kind of the Rashee Rice-esque, if you will, him and Kelsey. So I kind of like separating those. I just have a hard time seeing them both get there at the same time at 9K and 8,400. When I want to play Herbert, I want to play Mahomes. You run out of salary pretty quickly, and looking at the value, overall the value is pretty weak on the slate. So like both of those, prefer Kelsey over D-Hop, prefer Worthy over D-Hop as well, just for the upside there. And then jump into the other tight end position or the other tight end plays on the slate. Will Dissly, ton of interest in. He's just super heavily involved in this offense. Herbert looks his way a ton as well. Looking at last week here for Dissly, he only had 1 target, but before that, 4 targets for 47 yards, 80 yards of the week before that with a touchdown and 6 targets. I think that's going to change in a big way here. Pretty solid matchup overall for Will Dissly. Tight ends have carved the Kansas City Chiefs all year. We just saw what Brock Bowers did last week. Brock Bowers was the optimal captain, went for 33. I like going right back to the well with Will Dissly. Jatavian Sanders did well against him. Dawson Knox did well when he was in there for Buffalo with no Kincaid. Cade Otton smashed his team. So I think it's a big Will Dissly game. I like his price point a ton. I'll have a ton of Will Dissly there. Like him a ton at 4,800. He's right there kind of in that range of the kickers, in between the kickers and the defenses. So I like that a ton. And I also think his ownership's going to stay in check because Noah Gray's there. Everybody loves Noah Gray. Noah Gray's been a thing. He's heavily involved in this offense. They're trying to set him up to be, once Kelsey kind of leaves this team, he's going to be their guy, right? And I don't hate Noah Gray. 4 targets in each of the last 3 games, 18, 22, and 10 fantasy points there. I think he's a great option. I do prefer Dissly at a similar price point there. I think ownership's going to pull from each other in that range. I think Dissly probably comes in slightly more popular, but people are still going to play Noah Gray, especially because what we've seen him be doing the last couple showdown slates or last couple Chiefs slates, they've been on it there. But have a ton of interest in all 3 of the tight ends, Gray, Kelsey, and Dissly. I rank them Dissly number 1, Kelsey number 2, Gray 3. But you can definitely play them all 3 for sure. So like those guys. Kickers and defenses, I always have interest in kickers and defenses here. Pulling up the game logs, looking at the numbers here. Matthew Wright has 13 and 14 in back-to-back games. Love him a ton here. He's at home. He's a favorite. Really like him. He's a really good kicker, and we also got a really good kicker on the other end in Cameron Dicker, who's got 9, 12, 16, and 12. So I'm going to be overweight on both these kickers here tonight. I love the kickers a ton. Even in low-scoring games, these kickers find a way to get there. They come out, they hit 150-yard field goal. That's 5 points. 5 points in a low-scoring game in a range of guys like Quentin Johnson, who can't catch a ball, Josh Palmer, who just doesn't get a ton of looks. Obviously, you got Will Dissly and Noah Gray priced right below them, which definitely can outscore them. But for those guys to outscore the kickers, they got to do something, right? They need like 4 for 40 yards or something like that, right? 4 for 40 yards would put them at 9 points to outscore the kickers. But kickers make 2 50-yard field goals, which is very easy. That's 10 points, right? So I like the kickers a ton here. You got two really good kickers. I prefer Wright over Dicker, but I think the ownership is going to be heavier on Wright just because he's cheaper and he's at home. People like playing home kickers, but I like both kickers a ton here. Defenses, not a ton of interest in the defenses in general here. Kind of whatever I get when I run teams and work with teams. If I land on them, fine. Chiefs defense, I prefer slightly over the Chargers defense here. I just think Herbert can make more mistakes than a guy like Mahomes here. But either or, I don't love the defenses a ton here. We're priced where they're at $4K and 3,600 here. They're fine. And then in terms of the value, overall, the value is pretty weak. I don't see any really slam dunk value for me. I kind of want to round my teams out right around the Disleys, the Grays, the kickers, maybe the defenses, maybe like a Vidal or a Pirine if you see the game going that way. But realistically, I kind of want to stick in that mid-tier-ish build. So going back to the captain position, that's kind of why I don't mind like a worthy captain, something like that, that can get you that. Or really, if you're not playing D-Hop and Kelsey together, you can definitely round out your teams and not have to kind of punt down to that lower range, the way pricing has set up lately on these showdown slates. So that's going to do it, though, for this quick hit here. Broke it down pretty good. As always, all of our content will be live for SHIPIT Nation subscribers. If you're not a subscriber yet, you have a chance to get in yet. Still, BF50 is the code, 50% off your first month. You do not need a code, though, if you want the rest of the football season, which is very, very nice. Rest of the football season, including college, if it's available for you for the rest of that season, which obviously is in the bowl season now, all the way through the end of February or the beginning of February, right, with the Super Bowl. We cover the entire playoffs, all the slates, afternoon, main slates, primetime slates. We have content for all of it. $129 gets you access to the entire rest of the football season with Shiptimizer. If you do not want our in-house optimizer, Shiptimizer, it's $99 for the rest of the football season. Otherwise, if you use that code BF50, it takes down about $34 a month, gets you all access for the first month. Come in, check us out, check all the sports out, NHL, NBA, which continue to both crush. MMA, another huge night in the MMA streets last night. Guys shipping live final seats for those with Title and Marley running that up, and then PGA right around the corner in January. So BF50 is the code, but that's going to do it, though, today here for this show. Good luck tonight in those contests. Drop a like, drop a comment, hit the subscribe button as well. We're on the way to 10,000 subscribers. Massive, massive giveaway coming once we get that. But for myself, Nadesify, let's ship it.